Alright, so this week we got basically confirmation of a brand new multiplayer format coming to Disney Lorcana, and it is basically Commander. So if you've played Magic the Gathering before, you've probably most likely heard of Commander. It is a multiplayer first format where you can only have like one of every card in your deck, and generally I would say it's more of a casual format. Like, people come to play it and they make like very goofy things and very just off the wall stuff, or they want to do some crazy combo, or they just really love things like dinosaurs and they want to make a whole deck of dinosaurs. And I think a lot of people coming into Lorcana, they want to do that kind of thing, but then they are very soon met with the reality that that kind of stuff is just not super competitive. I will say that has changed a bit in the last, I would say this last rotation, where you have stuff like toys, and then you have like dwarves and like droids and things like that, or red pandas, which are decent. Detectives is another really good example. They're like decent, but they're not quite like up to par. Like, you could play an actual fully powered meta deck, and it's pretty much going to always beat out the other thing that you're trying to play. But the nice thing about a format like this is that it really does not only just like incentivize you to like kind of make I would say more off the wall or just fun things, because it's not super sweaty. It's not really like you're not gonna do like tournaments of this. You're gonna play it because it's fun, you know, which, funny enough, I sound so dumb. I understand it sounds so dumb, but as in just like, wouldn't it be great if we played a game for fun? But that is kind of what these are for. They're a nice change of pace and a nice like especially if you play a lot of competitive, which is kind of the only way to play Lorcana right now. It is such a great way to just like have a release valve and do something that's not quite super sweaty. So right now, they are calling the format Coconut. That is the code name. It is not going to be fully called Coconut. It's just not. They even say that it's codename Coconut. So that's what we're going to call it for now. I have, through the grapevine, heard of at least one name that is potentially what it's going to be called, but I'm not going to say what it is, just in case. It's to protect people, and also because it's probably not final. So this format is basically just like Commander. So if you're not familiar with Commander, the idea is that you have a deck of cards. You can only have one copy of every card in that deck. So like, you can't have 4 copies of Fire the Cannons unless you have some card that explicitly tells you that you can have more copies. So a good example of this would be like Dalmatian Puppy. The card explicitly says that you can have more than 4 copies in your deck. So realistically, you could show up to again, we're going to just keep calling it Coconut for now, Coconut format game with a deck that is just copies of Dalmatian Puppies. Now, would it be a good deck? Probably not. But if you want to do that, you could do it in reality, right? The other thing is that you need to pick a Coconut, and these are special cards. They sort of act like if you played Commander in Magic, it is your Commander. And in Commander, it's like a legendary, it has to be a legendary creature card. And then you can only build colors with you can only build your deck with colors that legendary card has on it. So if it's a white-black card, you can only include white and black cards in your deck. For this, they're actually upping it to 3 colors, and you only one of your colors is locked in. So the idea being that, let's say I pick, and we'll show some of the cards on the screen in a little bit, because some of them were shown off in their like beta form. Some of the cards, they'll be ruby or they'll be sapphire or whatever, and they have their own kind of special abilities. But let's say you pick the Mickey one. It's like Mickey Brave Little Tailor, and if I remember correctly, it can shift for 2, which is kind of nuts. It is a ruby card, so that means one of the 3 colors in your deck. If you play this as your Coconut, as we're calling it now, that means that ruby has to be one of the 3 colors you pick in the deck. And I assume that maybe down the road there will be other coconut cards that are multicolor, so they might lock you into at least 2 of the 3. I don't think we'll ever... I mean, there is a world in which maybe they make coconut-specific cards, but I kind of... Other than the actual coconuts, I'm kind of like... I'd rather not. I'd rather you guys don't... It's going to sound weird, because one of the things I think a lot of people in Magic don't like is the fact that... a lot of the game design feels like now it's designed around Commander, whereas when Commander was just a fan-run thing, it was not the focus at all from Wizards, so they weren't really designing cards for it. It was up to players to get creative with what they were given, as opposed to like, oh, we made this whole set explicitly for you guys who play Commander, whereas like it kind of takes a little bit of the like... a little bit of the magic away, whereas like you feel like you're discovering something that exists. Instead, it's like, well, they designed this so that I could discover it, right? It's a little different. So I sort of hope that the Lorcana designers just keep core and infinity in mind and don't really focus on this too hard outside of the actual coconut cards. I would rather get more creative and kind of stretch my muscles as a deck builder and just try kind of goofy things, both literally and figuratively, since goofy is in the game. But yeah, anyway, you have your coconut cards. You can have up to 4 of them. So instead of having like a command zone in like Commander, the idea is that your one kind of Commander card, your coconut in this instance, there's 4 copies in the deck, whereas every other card can only have 1 copy. So at max, unless you're using some kind of like recursion from the discard pile or anything like that, at max you're going to play that card maybe 4 times in a game, but that's going to be really, really hard to pull off. And instead of 100 cards, it is 60 cards, which personally I like. I think 100 cards is kind of a lot. Like, and as someone who's played a lot of Magic and played a lot of Commander, oh man, like he's trying to double sleeve like and shuffle an entire Commander deck's just a lot. It also makes your decks just a lot less consistent. I kind of like the idea that it's always just going to be 60 cards, and then you can get a little more, like you don't have to fill it, right? Because in Magic, even in Commander, a good 20-ish cards, so almost 20% or more of your deck is like lands or resources, and that's not a thing in Lorcana. So we don't actually need 100 cards to do the same things that we would do and get the same consistency that we would get, right? So I like the idea that this will only be 60 cards. I like the 3 colors because it does open up some weird combos that you will never see in core because of limitations like dual inks and other cards that can't really exist in the same decks. Now in this format they can, so you can potentially make some really toxic decks, but I think if you and your friends are sort of following the same ethos that Commander has, where it's just more like about fun and people are just building decks based on movies they like and tossing in some other cards just in case, I think it'll be fine, honestly. And the people who want to get really sweaty with it can get really sweaty with it over there, and like us over here, we can play with our puppies and our Atlantis decks and stuff and just have a good time. And yeah, so there, if you're going to, or if you're at Gen Con right now, you can play it. They also mentioned that in the companion app, there is some coconut format information in there, like in terms of cards and stuff. The cards they've revealed, which I'll put on screen right now, they have the abilities, they don't have any costs, they don't have any stats, and it's really unclear if that is on purpose. I don't believe these are meant to be played for free. I could be wrong. I'm sure people who are playtesting right now at Gamescom, or excuse me, at Gen Con, will be able to see that, and they might be able to show the stats or like tell us what the stats are for some of these cards so we could try this at home. But also, if you are, and I mentioned Gamescom before, if you are going to Gamescom in Cologne, that's in late August, they are also going to be beta testing it there as well. They do mention this is like open beta, but like if it was open, I think they would release the stats for the coconut cards. And again, I'm sure someone will make a whole spreadsheet of these are all the stats. But again, I don't know if there are supposed to be stats. It seems like there are, but it is very unclear. Because I think playing some of these abilities, playing for free or just having as a static thing makes sense. But then you look at the Mickey card and it shifts for 2, but there's no stats on it at all. And you're like, okay, it's implied that this is a character, but there's no strength, there's no willpower, there's no cost other than the shift cost. So I think it's just that they wanted people who are playing at Gamescom and playing at Gen Con to have the first crack at this and to not just flood everyone into playing this immediately. I do think that there is a very good chance that the stats for these cards leak out, and then at that case, you could just make proxies and you could try playing it. And if that ever happens, I will try playing it, and I'll probably make a video about it, and we can maybe do like a longer podcast discussion about whether or not like I like the format. So far, I like everything I'm reading about it, and it seems pretty cool. In the description, I will also link to this article and also all of their beta documentation. They've released the abilities of the cards in like a format, but they in like just a basic like white paper black text format, and also the main rules of the game. But they have not released like enough for you at home to. It's like just enough to get you excited, but not enough for you to actually try it, right? And in theory, you could just, a lot of these cards, they have stand-in art. So you could, in theory, just copy the stats from that card, but I don't think they're going to be the same. I seriously doubt they're going to be the same, because some of them just seem way too strong for the stats that they would have. Like Brave Little Tailor, shifting that on turn 2, which I believe is like a 5/5 quest for 3 and has evasive, like, you're going to have that on turn 2. Like, I realize it's multiplayer and there's going to be, 3 other people keeping you in check, but like, seems like a lot, especially when everyone's doing that. But I don't know. Again, not a competitive format, right? It's more of a casual thing. I should also mention that it is free for all, and instead of getting to 20 lore, you have to get to 25, which I think is a good change. It makes it a little. Right, because I think in this instance you could create some really crazy combos that just like, again, win you the game so fast. And it's a little harder because you have to think about not just your opponent, you have 3 opponents, and you have to also stay in check with all of that, or like keep them in check and they're keeping you in check, right? So there's a whole aspect to it. I think people who have not played Commander before and who jump into this will probably have a really fun time, because they'll finally be able to just play really off the wall decks, and just play like their favorite cards that never see any play, which is like something that is always like a struggle in a card game. You get so many cards, and so many of them are just literally unplayable because of the way the meta is shaped and the way that all of this works, and everyone's trying to win, right? And I think these kinds of formats are less about winning. Like, you want to win, but a lot of it is just like, if I can pull off that kooky thing I designed, then I will be a happy person, right? And I think the game kind of needs that. I know there are a lot of people that are like, I hope this game never gets a Commander format and all this stuff. And I sort of understand why. They just want everyone to be really focused in on the one aspect of the game. But I think the truth is, like, if you are not someone who's super plugged in and you're not playing all the time, you're not very competitive, playing the normal game, like going to a game store and playing the normal like core constructed game and going to tournaments, can be kind of a slog, especially when you're like, man, I just wanted to play with my Moana deck, and I can't because somebody just rolled up with this control deck and just destroyed me, right? Again, that's not to say that won't be a problem in this format, but I think if you were playing with your friends and you all have like expectations of like what you're gonna do and like who does what, I think you'll have a lot more fun with it. I definitely and they mentioned in this article that they had beta tested this in Indy, and I did hear on the show floor about it from various people who had got to play it, and so we kind of knew this was coming. At least some of us knew. And As the weekend in Indy went on, I definitely got the sense that we need something like this. I think as we were playing and as we were going on, and I did not do well in Indy, so basically everyone around me was not doing well. I got the sense that a lot of the people around me were really frustrated, and again, kind of thought it would be, and I realize they're going to a huge tournament, but they kind of thought maybe they would do better, or they just want something else to do that's gonna just like take the steam off and remind them that this is supposed to be a game that's fun, right? And I think that's why we need this. I think we just need a casual format for these kinds of things. So anyways, that's gonna do it for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Boy, love you.